Here we are again for another episode of Masks Off. It's Tia.
And I'm Kim.
And we are continuing our conversation about rest, overwhelm, burnout, all of that. And the quote that we feel really resonates with both Kim and I right now is from Jennifer Williamson. Real rest feels like every cell is thanking you for taking care of you. It's calm, not full of checklists and chores. It's simple, not multitasking, not fixing broken things.
Oh my God.
The checklists, the to-dos, the fixing things. I mean, I always knew I was the people pleaser, the fixer, the doer, get this done, go to the next thing, or trying to do multiple things at, like she mentions in the quote, at a time. I didn't realize how deep it was until I really tried to start focusing on resting in this last week. I'm good about self-care, like basic self-care. Yep. So I thought that was enough. I had this belief that because I take care of my body, my mind, and my spirit, that I'm doing little things throughout the day. I may fall off a little bit for a day or two, but I always could remember to bring myself back, take some moments to do this or that. But I wasn't resting in the way that this quote's referencing, the way that the quote from the episode earlier this week was about, what we've been talking about. I have not given myself permission to rest. And when I have, so I tried to really focus on resting last night. I'll share this. And I know Kim and I were talking about this earlier, and I know she has stuff to share too. But I was like, I'm going to take myself an hour, because I needed it to be long enough that it stretched my limits and pushed me outside my edge a little bit. And I'm going to unplug, no social media, no email checking, no work. I'm not going to do laundry. I'm not going to do dishes. I'm not going to declutter, because that's one of my things. I'm not going to pick up nothing except taking care of me. And what I needed to do, or what I wanted to do, was read a book. Yes. A book about burnout. But anyway, it was really what I needed. And I am glad I chose it last night. But I noticed within the first 10 minutes of reading that book, because I used to read for hours without thinking. Like, I'd get so engrossed in a book, fiction, nonfiction, it didn't matter. I wouldn't even think about my to-do list. I remember this, or I would think of it and be like, oh yeah, I need to remember to do that. I'd write it on a piece of paper, but then I'd go right back into my book. Not even 10 minutes in, I'm just like, what did I just read? How am I resting? Wait a minute. I would need to do that. And so I literally had a piece of paper that I'm writing down what I need to do so I didn't forget tomorrow, because I had made the commitment I wasn't going to do any more work that night. And then our dog had to go outside and I got up to let him out. Not a big deal. He has to go to the bathroom. I'm not going to be like, sorry, you have to wait till the hour's over.
Yes.
And as I'm letting out, my phone was in my pocket. It was, in do not disturb, all of that. But I had pulled it out of my pocket. And I didn't even realize I had pulled it out of my pocket till I went to look at it to clearly unlock it. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I had a break from reading to let the dog out. And I was just going to not even consciously check email or do whatever I was going to do when I opened it up. So the resting is so hard. But I put it back. I didn't do anything.
Good for
you. And then
you.
I did make it through the hour. And I will say, after maybe a half an hour, I read for easily a full half hour without a to-do list thought. So I thought that was a win.
That is a win. That is. Yeah. So
it was hard.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And like you said, last episode, we talked about this as well, and the permission slips. And so, we are going to show up here today and try to give some suggestions or ideas on how to the antidote for this. And right. We're just going to be 100% honest and say that, both Tia and I are still in the struggle of this. Mm-hmm. So it's raw for both of us. It's real for both of us. And we're trying to navigate our own way through it.
Yeah. And sharing our process.
And sharing our process as well.
So how was it for you?
Yeah, I noticed the same exact thing. So, I think I did share in the last episode because we recorded on a Sunday when I
Right.
wasn't feeling well. And still for like 3 days, I still am not feeling well. And one of the things that I'm well aware of, and I think most of us know this, is that when we get burned out and we're overwhelmed and pushing, then our resistance becomes lower. And then that's how we get sick,
Right.
And
Totally.
so I've been feeling that. And while I was trying, I thought I was trying to let myself rest so I wouldn't get more
Yes.
sick. I couldn't.
Right.
Like I was sharing with you, the voices in my head that are pulling me to do.
Right.
Like and even when I'm in one task and doing a task, I'm feeling the pull of the next task.
Totally.
I'm feeling the pull of the other 10 things that I have to
Right.
do.
It's my list.
Yeah,
today.
showing your list. I know, it's insane. And we
That's
know
just today. That's not all the other things that are pulling me there.
today. Oh my goodness. And so when I went a little bit deeper inside of what is this about, this
Right.
pull, why does this keep pulling me to do all this stuff? And I shared with you earlier that one of the things that was on my list was to try to complete something that I need to do, that I wanted to get done before you and I met today on
Right.
Zoom, which is for our next course. And with all that kept going on this morning, I just didn't get to it. But the inner dialogue was, oh, Tia's going to be upset. Tia's going to be mad. And oh my goodness, it's about the pleasing. It's about pleasing. Like all of this energy and all this doing is sometimes for myself, but it's often about taking care of someone else or something else or pleasing someone.
Oh, definitely. Because look at, if we were doing it for ourselves, we'd be resting more.
I know.
And I mean, and then look at the story you attach to that. I'm going to be mad, meaning, Tia's going to be mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, it wouldn't have even crossed my mind because, but it's what we do. I do the same thing. I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to make them wait any longer than they need to wait. Oh, I can get it done. I can push this other thing off a little later. But then that thing I'm pushing off is just that little gremlin, like, oh, so that's more important, but not that. And if it's related to a person, so you're saying that person's needs are more important than that other person's needs. And so it's like, it gets so deep. And I think
so deep.
What you brought up is so important. It's not just, oh, I have a hard time resting. We have to get beneath to the why.
Exactly.
If we can't identify the why, we can't identify the feeling, the mask that's attached to that. And for this, there's several masks attached.
I know. There are. You want to name them just for everybody listening?
People pleaser.
Yeah.
I'm not resting well. Perfectionist, right?
Yep.
Sorry, that's not rest. I mean, even the book I was reading last night, is this really resting because you're reading a nonfiction book about learning, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, but for me, that was rest. But I was criticizing because I wasn't literally sitting doing something else that I thought would have been better rest.
Yeah.
I mean, I did eventually move into it, but it was talking myself off this ledge of, no, just stick with this. It's okay.
Yeah.
Perfectionist, people pleaser.
Overdoing, the overachiever.
Martyr, which obviously blends into there. I wonder if victim comes in there some way. Like a victim, poor me. I can't take the time to rest. I have to do all this. I mean, it's martyr. It's a martyr victim combo.
There's an overlap, sure.
Which it usually, that often is, and for women in particular.
I know.
So what feeling, like, where do you feel it in your body?
Well, first of all, that's so interesting you asked that question because, from all this, like literally I did decide this morning that one of the things one action step I was going to take was to take 10 minutes. I sat down in my chair. I put my blanket on. I set my timer for 10 minutes.
Yep.
And I turned my phone over so I wouldn't look at the phone because, oh my God, now I completely understand my kids and the younger generation with how quickly and easily you can get addicted to those phones. unbelievable.
And I don't think we realized it till we realize it.
Exactly. Until you try not to look at it. So
Right.
I literally had to flip it upside down so I wouldn't see like if somebody text or notification. Right. So, and then it's almost like, okay, well, what do I actually do to rest? Like what helps me? So, meditation, obviously. And I just started going inward to feel my body. Like you said, where do I feel it?
Yep.
I literally could feel in my legs just like this, I want to say like an electricity of like, it just felt like all my nerve endings were like screaming, like, like they were on fire because of the tension and the tightness. It was not even my legs, my whole body, like just zapping from the amount of energy and tension and stress that I'm holding in my body.
Right.
Because and if we go back to that whole fight, flight, freeze thing.
Exactly.
Right. So if I'm thinking about this is all I have to do, and there's a perceived threat of if I don't do this, and I'm not pleasing Tia or whoever, or my son for dinner or whoever, then somehow, someone is going to be upset with me. So there's a threat that makes me go into flight, fight, or freeze.
Right.
And then, there's this other part of, what was I going to say? I even lost my thought on that. I don't know. Well, anyway, so I just felt it in my body, and I felt the zinging and I was like, wow. And it was so incredibly difficult to just settle down, like to just, keep breathing into that and just letting it go.
Yeah.
It was so hard for just 10 minutes. But what I did end up doing in terms of like, so how every task, right? So the more the mental chatter, I purposely and intentionally, when I was in a task or an activity, and I watched my mind go to what I had to do next, even if it was like, oh, if I went into the bathroom, I saw that the sheets weren't on the bed yet. And I would think to myself, I was just walking in. This is how you walk into a room and you forget what you went in the room for because you get distracted so quickly. So I would walk into the bathroom and I noticed, and I said, nope, like, no. And I would literally bring myself right back into, this is the task I'm in right now. Right. And I said to myself, even out loud, just slow down, Kim. I kept saying, just slow down, right? Within just, it's okay, just slow down. And then I just tried to be in the moment and in the task. And of course, I would start to quickly, go into what I had to do and what was next, and then kept bringing myself back. So we were saying beforehand, this is a process. I do not expect myself to stay in this process right now. Like I'm doing an okay job with it today. I've been able to watch the mental chatter. I watched the inner dialogue, and I didn't give in to the inner dialogue. I'm okay with that now, but it could be like after we're done, I'm back to, like, so it's a process. Yeah. It is progress, not perfection. So I just feel like that's something really important to illustrate that, for people who are also struggling like us and trying to do this, that when they notice they can't be back in the moment and they go back into that thought train, to be gentle and compassionate. So, but it made a huge difference when I did that. It made a huge difference. I really just I was intentional about slowing down. And then I said to myself, you know what? It is what it is. I'll get done what I get done. If this one is upset, or, I don't get to this, or I don't get to that, it's okay. It's on the list. It'll get there tomorrow, or it'll get done when it needs to get done. And then the other thing that I did to help myself was I said to myself, when I was thinking about all the things, how important is it? So to prioritize, right? How important is it? And really, most of the things that I'm worried about, if they don't get done, really in the big scheme of life, how important is it? We have a deadline for our next course. And of course, we're going to do our best to get to it. And you know what? If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And in terms of asking how important is it, right now, I am healthy. I'm free from coronavirus. My family is healthy and free from, There's no crisis. It's okay.
Right.
Everything is okay.
Exactly.
So then what's really at play is all that stuff that I'm talking about is my inner child, right? That
Totally.
perfectionism, the people pleasing, the have to do, the fearful, that's all like my inner child just going ballistic and
Totally.
saying, I have to do all this stuff.
Mhm.
And then my
Right.
adult is stepping in and just saying, no, it's okay.
Right.
Slow down.
Exactly.
How important is it really? Just come back to right here. Let's just do this now.
Exactly.
Baby steps, one step at a time. Like all those slogans and cliches are created for a reason.
Exactly.
There's wisdom in them.
Exactly. Yep, totally. Because they are real. And I mean, there's so many of those cliches, those old ones, right, that are directly related to our body. Baby steps, taking little steps, the weight of the world on your shoulders, frog in your throat. All those are related to a true experience in our body that we're having in our world. So why can't we take baby steps? And when you think about baby steps, think about a little baby learning to walk. They just fall down, pick themselves up, do it again. It's not about perfection. It's not about blaming, oh, I can't believe I fell down again, or I give up, I'm not going to do it anymore, or whatever. They're just in that moment. So just that imagery of baby steps you brought up is a really gentle reminder to me personally. Like I can get everything done. What needs to get done is always going to get done, because it's going to happen when it's supposed to. And babies walk, they try over and over, and then they're tired and they take a rest. Why can't I take a rest?
Yeah.
I can take those little baby steps on my to-do list and then rest.
That's so funny when you said that about the babies. I'm thinking about a video that my sister sent me not long ago about, it was her new puppy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even kidding when I say that this puppy would literally run like crazy, like mad for like 5 seconds and then quickly stop and plop down. Just rest. And then she'd get up and she would run for another like 10 seconds, like crazy, like a mad dog, literally. And she'd plop down and just rest and just sit there.
Yep. There's so many lessons we can learn from those little beings, aren't there?
I know. Oh my goodness. It's incredible. So I think that in terms of antidotes, we did just mention a whole bunch of them, right? We talked about like even just using that imagery and visual of the baby, like is a great one to help. Just some gentle reminders of just slowing down. How important is it?
Exactly.
Just being intentional about taking time, like you said, for that hour, or I took the 10 minutes today to just literally unplug. And it will feel uncomfortable. It felt extremely uncomfortable to just be and do absolutely nothing.
Isn't it interesting where we can take the time to meditate and it doesn't feel the same as this?
I know, because meditation is
unstructured rest.
Meditation is still a doing. It's something to do, like going for a run or going to your gym and doing your workout or eating a healthy salad. It's like meditating is still I literally put those on my to-do list.
Right.
Like do abs, do stretching, meditate. Maybe I have to start writing down just be on my to-do list. But then does it become the same? I don't know. It's so tricky.
That'll be interesting to think about. I mean, I'm looking at the quote again. Real rest feels like every cell is thanking you for taking care of you. And so when I think of every cell being nurtured in my body and true rest, speaking of dogs, ours is running around a little crazy right now. Not like the puppy crazy though. But what it felt to me after I like finally eased into that restful place last night, because after my hour was up, I shared with you before, I don't think I shared it in the recording yet. I decided to do some stretching and just some really light bit. And then after that, I really felt content. And reading that quote, I felt like my cells exhaled, like there was more space. and I could breathe without the pull.
Yeah, I think you're right, because when I did that 10 minutes this morning, and like I said, I felt like every nerve and muscle in my whole being was just on fire, and it
Yeah.
was tight and it was tense. And then, as I just kept, and I didn't do any intentional meditation, I just kept going in and just breathing. And by the end, I did feel more space, and I
Yeah.
did feel a more relaxing and a letting go, and like my cells were kind of like, oh, thank you,
Yeah.
And then not only that, but then maybe that also in part set up the rest of the afternoon in terms of me
Mm,
being more intentional and mindful
makes
about
sense.
the rest of it.
Doesn't it make sense though?
Mm, I know.
So before we close out, you already kind of wrapped up some of those antidotes. I think
Yeah.
it's really, we called our last episode permission slips. I almost feel like this continues with permission to rest. Like,
Yeah.
I know I don't need someone else with a permission slip to tell me I need to rest. I need to
Yeah.
tell myself and give myself permission to rest as I need in that
Yeah.
moment.
And I think it's permission to rest. Your body will thank you.
Ooh, I love it. Your cells will thank you.
Your cells will thank you. Yes.
Ooh, your cells will thank you. Maybe that's it right there.
Yeah. Your cells will thank you. And I know it may sound to so many people like it's so counterintuitive. Like I can just hear myself most of the time saying, I don't have the time.
Right.
I don't have the time to just sit and rest. But the thing is, we need to make the time.
Exactly.
Maybe that's make the time for rest. Make the
Yep.
time. Something
Yeah.
along those lines.
We
Yeah.
have to, because otherwise our body is we're going to break down.
Yeah.
And so we do all this preventative self-care exercise, which is all important.
It is.
We do our best to eat the right foods, do all these things, whatever. But rest is just as important as all of that, is what I'm learning through this process.
I know.
So it's just a new thing to do. All those other things were hard before, so it will get easier.
It will get easier. Yep. And I think it's, just being, because I can feel as I'm starting to think about it, I'm like, oh, there goes my anxiety starting to go up again a little bit as I think about like, okay, for tomorrow or whenever the next time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it worked out today, but I don't know I got too much to do tomorrow.
But isn't that where we have to have that self-compassion?
Yes.
And grace for ourselves, that we're not supposed to be perfect. If we don't get to it a day, it doesn't mean we're bad. Doesn't mean we let ourselves down or the world is going to punish us.
Yeah.
It just is.
I do, and I want to add one other piece that came up for me too, as I was just trying to stay within each activity today. I also, which is very new concept for me, obviously, but I also listened to my body.
So
because,
important.
right. And my body was leading the way. And here's the thing, like I said, okay, I was trying to look at my whole entire day and what, I knew we were meeting, and I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to gauge with the weather. I knew I wanted to do my run.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how am I going to have time to shower? I was like figuring it all out. It was like crazy making. And then I said, oh, stop with the mental chatter. And then at one point, like I just kept listening, and it was like before I had this other class to do beforehand, I could feel very loudly my body was saying, go run now, go run now, go run now. Right. And I was really like, my mind was saying, no, I got to do it later when the sun comes out. My body just was like, so I listened to my body. And first of all, it was much warmer than I thought, even though, because it looked cold because it's windy, but it was warmer than I thought. I went out and I ran. I had my fastest pace ever. My body so needed, and my body was like right ready for it. Remember I said the last time I ran, I could barely breathe.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I was shocked. So my point is that when we learn to live more in our bodies and listen to our bodies and not the mind and the mental chatter of the shoulds and shooting on ourselves, that we actually, and if we listen to when our bodies need the rest, we actually will be more productive in the end. than if we
Totally.
just keep on overriding our body,
Yep.
overriding the signals,
That inner knowing.
the
We
inner
know.
knowing. I mean, like
Yep.
over the weekend, my body was screaming to me. The sirens were going off like, woo, 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 slow down, slow down. And I wasn't listening at
Yeah.
all. So I think
Mm,
that's a big part of
it's a
this
big one.
antidote in this process as well. At least it is
Totally.
for me, is to just listen to my
Mhm.
body.
Yes.
And our bodies will tell us when we need to rest.
Yeah, it'll tell us move, rest,
Yeah.
faster, slower, move that, stretch that, whatever. It tells us.
Yeah.
It
And
does.
and another thought process that was going on too, and I know then we'll wrap up, is that when I was feeling tired and not feeling well, and I wasn't able to produce as much or be as productive,
Mm,
in some way I was falling short and failing.
yes.
I'm supposed to
Right?
stay at 120 miles an hour,
All
24/7,
the time.
365 all the time.
Yep.
That's
And have perfect
perfectionism,
work.
and have perfect work,
No mistakes.
no mistakes. And I'm quite sure that's a way, I'm quite sure a majority of us in society think and act that way.
Totally.
When
And
the
that does not
reality
serve
is
us.
that when you're run down and tired, you need to slow down.
Yep.
Slow down and take a break. And then when you recover and you get back to like ground zero, then you'll be able to
Right.
take off running again and you'll be more productive.
So good. I mean, and your body literally showed you that within the last 5 days.
Completely. Oh, so
Or a
exciting.
week, really.
Yeah, the whole week.
Wow.
Wow.
Ooh,
That is, I
so
know.
good.
So good. So good.
All
Okay.
right, so we're going to keep practicing resting,
Yes.
and
Yes.
hopefully our listeners will see how their rest is
Yes.
working or not working, and maybe just 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Doesn't have to be a lot. So
yeah. So, oh my goodness.
We're with you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and for tuning in. And as always, we would appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe. We love the feedback. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to be here with you today.
Yes, definitely. Have a good one. Bye.